Well, guys, it is Mark from the Sports Corner, and the NFL season is almost to an end. The Super Bowl is just around the corner. I swear, last week it was in October, and we were just getting into the heart of the NFL season. But nope, here we are. We are right here towards the end of it. The conference championship games. Some really great matchups, guys. I love it. We have in the AFC, we have two top five quarterbacks going at it. And the NFC, we have my Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you, Philadelphia Eagles, for advancing the NFC to the NFC Championship. I was on my toes against that Rams game, watching that game. But my Eagles versus the great rookie that is Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commanders. Big NFC East rivals going at it. So it's going to be awesome, guys. This is going to be one hell of a matchup this weekend, this Sunday. Let's just talk about last week. I went 2-2-1 against the spread. My best bets also went 1-1 against the spread. So not in the red, not in the green, even. My wild card weekend picks went even as well. So this whole playoff, I have broke even. So hey, I'll take it more than being in the red. But let's get in the green this week, guys. These in the conference championship. Before we get to my predictions, though, guys, like and subscribe. It goes a long way, costs you nothing, and I'll repeat it once again. If you followed me for the NFL season and all my predictions, I had my best winning season yet. So if you watch me, you made a profit. So with that, guys, like and subscribe. It goes a long way. But let's get into these games. I like some player props, which I'm going to give as well. There's some good money to be made. It's going to be entertaining as hell. But I think there's some good bets here, some good player props. And also pay attention to my socials, my Instagram, my YouTube shorts, my TikTok, all that jazz. I like to give out like breaking information like injuries or a player prop I see that's, popped up out of somewhere. So guys, let's get after it. My predictions, and stay for my best bets in the end for the conference championship, guys. So let's get after it. All right, guys, in our first matchup, we have the Commanders versus the Eagles. The Eagles being favored by 6 points and the over-under being 47.5. Let's talk about the two previous games that these teams played each other, okay? They are rivals. They play each other twice. They play in the same division. So let's talk about them. The first game was pretty much close the whole game. And then the Eagles just opened it up in the fourth quarter, and they dropped over 20 points in the fourth quarter. Eventually, that running game and this offensive linemen were leaning on the Commanders, and then Barkley just broke through for two big runs for touchdowns, and the Eagles just ended up winning by 8 points and covering the number. Nobody looked particularly good in that game. Not even Jaden Daniels. He had 191 yards passing, one touchdown, one interceptions, and only 18 rushing yards. So not a really good game by him. Austin Eckler was the best receiver for them in that game. Not really what you want to see because he's a running back. Barkley was the only really great performer in that game. Even Hurts was not so bad, not so good either. But Barkley, he went off like gangbusters in that game, the first game. But let's talk about the second game. The second game is the one that the Commanders are bragging about. The fans, they think that game was it showed everything that we needed to see and how we could beat the Eagles this week. Let's talk about that game, okay? The Eagles lost that game on a game-winning touchdown. It was 33-36, okay? But let's be real, okay? Let's be real here, Commander fans. Do you really think you win that game without Jalen Hurts? Really, don't be biased. Sit down and think. You won by a game-winning touchdown with Kenny Pickett at the majority quarterback in that game. Kenny Pickett threw an interception that game. Hurts hasn't thrown an interception, I think, since week 6, week 7. So he doesn't turn the ball over. So do you think you win that game with Kenny Pickett? Come on, let's be real here. Let's dive in a little bit more. I don't think Commanders fans realize how lucky was it for them to win that game. They had a lot of dominoes fall for them to win that game. So let's go over the dominoes that fell. Jalen Hurts gets hurt in the first quarter. He only had 4 passing attempts. I think he went out close to the 10-minute mark or 8-minute mark. Between there, he left in the first quarter, okay? Josh Sweat, the Eagles' starting defensive end, who also leads us in sacks, goes out in the second quarter. Then CJ Gardner-Johnson, the starting safety, a good safety that is, he gets ejected right immediately after the halftime. Into the third quarter, the beginning of the third quarter, for bragging or talking, trash, something like that. That's what he got kicked out for. Okay, so our best safety, our best defensive end who could sack the quarterback, and our starting quarterback are all out. Okay, the bigger one being Hurts being out in the first quarter with 10 minutes remaining. Okay, so you have all those guys out, and Devontae Smith, when the Eagles were up, when it was under 2 minutes, he dropped a pass that hit him right in the chest. He dropped it. Any day of the week, he catches that. And if he did catch that, they ice the game and they win. So, Commander fans, do you think you win that game? You think all those dominoes are going to fall again for you for this game? Come on now. Ask yourself that true question. A lot of ways had to go your way just to win that game on a game-winning touchdown, okay? Our starting defensive end and safety wasn't in for that game. Okay, so their argument, they like to say, well, Hurts might have been out, but the starting defense was still out there. Hurts would have dropped another 20 more points. In the second half, the Eagles only put out 12 points. Okay, I think the majority of them were field goals because Kenny Pickett couldn't put in the end zone. So don't give me that, guys. Okay, now let's get to this game. The Commanders are coming off a great win against the Lions. It was a really great win. I thought the Lions would come out ahead in that game, but the Commanders blew them out. They took belt to ass to the Lions. Jared Goff, he looked terrible. We starting to start asking questions. Jared Goff, the guy's he's putting up great numbers in the regular season, but the guy's not sealing the wins in the playoffs. He threw 3 interceptions and he lost a fumble, so 4 turnovers just by Jared Goff alone. And Jared Goff didn't have a TD in the second half at all. So the guy was just playing like trash the whole game. Plus their defense, the Lions, that's another big thing everybody got to remember. Their defense, I think they have the most beat up defense in all the NFL. Like 9 starters in the IR or 8 stars in the IR. It's some ridiculous number like that. So keep that in mind, okay? Anybody who wants to think the Commanders are going to just beat the Eagles outright. They played a team that has a great offense, but their defense is ass because of all of the injuries. But regardless of that, it was an amazing win by the Commanders, okay? It still was a great win. I'm not trying to take it away from you guys, but you got to put in perspective that the Lions' defensive, especially their passing defense, is god-awful, okay? And Jared Goff turned the ball over 4 times. And I know one would say, well, that's really great defense by the Commanders. If you saw some of those passes, go look at the game. Jared Goff threw some passes. You're like, what the hell is he throwing at? Overthrowing a guy. The corner safety got that pick. The guy was not that accurate during this game. But regardless, a good win by the Commanders. I'm not trying to take it away from you guys. Everybody had the Detroit winning that game, at least money line. So for the Commanders to win, it was a great win. Let's keep in mind the Commanders are without their best offensive lineman, their right guard. Okay, that is huge because the Eagles have arguably one of the best defensive linemen in the league. Some say one of the better defensive players in all of football. Just don't take it from me. Go watch your favorite national, media sports guy. Either be Phil Simms or Colin Cowherd, whoever you like watching. When you watch Carter on tape, either like the most double-team defensive tackle in all of football. I don't know if he is, but he damn is. He is in the playoffs, that's for sure. Okay, and he's the highest rated defender and Pro Football Focus in the whole playoffs, and he's going against a backup right guard. So don't be surprised that the Commanders double team him on every single snap, okay? But I'm just saying, your right guard is out for the game, and that's kind of big. Also, it's also big for the running game for the Commanders. Also, Wagner, their linebacker, he is beat up. He will play, but he is beat up. And their defensive tackle, Payne, he's also questionable for this game as well. I'm sure he'll play, but he's beat up. So I'm just telling you, you have a lot of guys who are injured on the Commanders team, just not Philadelphia, okay? Philadelphia's beat up too. We'll get to that. The Eagles, they're coming off a good, tough win against the Rams. It was a tough win, okay? The Eagles, it was a snow game. The game was, and all those conditions were just terrible, So if anybody watched that game, anybody who's going to win that game was going to be a tough, fought-out win. The Eagles, And I want to make a preference here. And I don't care if people think this because I'm glazing the Eagles because I'm an Eagles fan. I don't care. The Eagles had a tougher road to get to the NFC Championship than the Commanders. The Packers, who they beat and covered by, I think they won by 12 points, 10-22. The Packers had a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, okay? So I don't want to hear that like, oh, well, okay, the Buccaneers, their passing defense is god-awful. It's one of the worst in the league. So that's what the Commanders had to go through first, and they needed a game-winning field goal off a goalpost to win that game, okay? They played against the Packers, who are one of the better, and their head coach, LaFleur, is one of the better head coaches, top 10 head coach in this league. Go watch, again, one of your favorite guys. They'll tell you Matt LaFleur, he's really good against the spread, he's good as an underdog, and he's good at scheming. But the Eagles still won, okay? So, and the Rams, Sean McVay is arguably a top 3 coach. I think it probably goes Andy Reid, and a lot of people would put McVay at number 2. I am not BSing you. Go watch wherever you want to go watch. They will tell you. So the Eagles had a tougher route, and Matthew Stafford's arguably the best quarterback in the NFC, okay? It's either him, and you could put Daniels in that conversation if you like, but I'd put Matthew Stafford number 1. So they had to go against a tougher route than the Commanders to get to the NFC Championship. So just keep that in mind, okay? Barkley, in that game against the Rams, he killed it. You guys saw it. He ran game busters on them. 2 big runs for touchdowns. Kellen Moore, he really didn't call a good game, I think, against the Rams. I mean, he did. I think he did. He called a good game, but some of those calls were bonehead moves, like when Hurts was injured with a knee injury. He called the boot action that became a sack when he should just hand the ball off to Barkley again and then hand it off again. Eventually would have got that first down and then it could have iced the game, but they gave Stafford another chance to score and beat us. But whatever, Eagles won that. But Kellen Moore needs to call a better game to beat these Commanders. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts here real quick, okay? I'm tired of people talking about the passing game. The Eagles are not a passing team. They are a rushing team. John Elway relied on Terrell Davis to take him to the Super Bowl and win it multiple times because Terrell Davis, he has like the most rushing yards in the season and the playoffs all to combine together, okay? Because they really relied on him to be a workhorse, just like the Eagles. The Eagles could rely on their top defense and their run game to win this game and the Super Bowl. You don't have to throw 200, 300 yards if they want to see more from the passing game. No, you don't. Plenty of teams before this became a really big passing league have won the Super Bowl by pounding the rock, okay? So I don't want to hear that. So this whole thing about Jalen Hurts not throwing for this many yards, I think it's BS. He's not turning the ball over. He has 1 rushing touchdown and 2 passing touchdowns and no fumbles and no fumbles lost and no interceptions. So he's not turning the ball over whatsoever, okay? The only thing that concerns about me about Hurts was in the Rams game, he got sacked, I think 7 or 9 times, something like that, because he was holding the ball a little too long in that game. Now, that wasn't the best game for the Eagles offensive line. I'll give him that as well. But there were some times he took too many sacks when he should have thrown the ball away and he wasn't, really reading the field that well. Now, I'm not blaming that all on Hurts because the conditions were god-awful. All the players in the locker room said it was worse playing in the Brazil game, and the Brazil game had that terrible field, okay? So, and plus he hurt his knee in that game. So he probably couldn't run out of the pocket like he usually does, so he got sacked from out because he couldn't run out of the pocket. So keep that in mind. If the Eagles want to, if you want to bet on the Eagles, what they need to do is get the ball out of Hurts' hands quick, or the offensive line just needs to pass block better, okay? Now, the Commanders do have more sacks than the Rams overall in the season, but I think the Rams have more, playmakers at getting at the quarterback. I'll take Verse over a lot of the defense. I think probably the whole front 7 of the Commanders. So even though the Commanders do have more sacks than the Rams, it seems like the Rams had more juice again after the quarterback, because the game before the Eagles, they had 7 sacks that game and like 9 or 8 sacks against the Eagles. So the Rams were getting after quarterbacks. So Jalen, he needs to just do better with the ball, either get rid of it or the offensive line needs to protect better. But if they can't, just get rid of the ball. Just get rid of the ball. But I'm not worried about how many passing yards he's throwing. As long as they get the W and win, and Barkley rushes for God knows how many yards, okay? That's what matters, getting a W. But let's get back to it, okay? Also, the starting cornerback for the Eagles, he was hurt during the Rams game, but now he's a full participant, full practice. He is going to play this game. Also, Jalen Hurts, who hurt his knee in that game, he was a full participant today, Thursday, so he will practice as well. So both these guys who got hurt, Isaiah Rodgers as well, they're all full participant, and they're all going to play on Sunday. So with all that being said, the Commanders' victories, if you look into it, against the Buccaneers and the Lions, great offenses, both those teams. Both those teams are top 5, for sure, top 10 offenses in the league, the Buccaneers and the Lions. Lions are number 1. I'm pretty sure the Buccaneers are number 3 in the top 5. But both those teams have horrific passing defenses, okay? The Buccaneers secondary is Swiss cheese. The whole back 7, anybody could throw on them. You could put your grandmother there and she would throw on the Buccaneers, okay? And the Commanders needed a game-winning field goal to win that game, okay? And don't get me started on the Lions. Their whole defense is depleted so bad. They already have one of the worst passing defenses going into that game. And now with all these injuries, it's worse. Anybody could throw on the Lions defense. And Jaden Daniels lit them up. So that's what I'm getting to. They're playing against the Eagles, the number 1 passing defense in all the NFL. It's not going to be like with the Buccaneers and with the Lions, where these secondaries are just garbage. And plus the rivals, they know each other, okay? So don't expect the Commanders to put up a lot of points here like they did against the Lions, at least. The Commanders have the 3rd worst rushing defense in all the NFL. They're 22nd in red zone defense, and they're 15th and third down defense. Not so great. Their defense is their Achilles heel for the Commanders. It's not their offense. And more importantly, if you break down every position between the Eagles and the Commanders, who is better? Other than the quarterback, I'll give the Commanders, Jaden Daniels right now is better than Jalen Hurts, okay? Don't forget how Jalen Hurts a year ago and 2 years ago lit up the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Yes, he lost, but it was one of the best Super Bowl performances ever by a quarterback, okay? So Jalen Hurts does have it in him, okay? But I'll give you Jaden Daniels being a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Who has the better running back? The Eagles. Who has the better offensive line? The Eagles. The better defensive line? The Eagles. The better wide receivers? The Eagles. Who's the better secondary? The Eagles. Linebacker? Maybe you could say Wagner is better than Braun. Braun is the all-pro middle linebacker in the NFC. He'll be the guy representing the NFC in that position. He's also in the he'll be in the top 3, top 5 for sure for Defensive Player of the Year. Okay, so I'm giving the nod to Braun as a better linebacker than Wagner being older as well. Okay, so I would say at every position the Eagles are better than the Commanders except quarterback. And I don't want to hear, whoa, that's it, the quarterback position, that's number 1. No, it's not. Okay, Trent Dilfer won a championship, okay, with that, and he's an average to below average crappy quarterback. Okay, Peyton Manning won in 2015 with the Broncos, and Manning was not that great. Okay, so I don't want to hear that the quarterback number 1 position, that's all you need and you can win games. I'm sorry, no. This is a team game more than any other sport, okay? NBA is number 2, but in the NFL, it's a whole team game. So the Eagles, by far, are the better team on paper, on when it comes to the roster, okay? The Eagles are their number 1 passing defense. The Eagles are their number 2 scoring defense. They're 5th in red zone defense, and they're 3rd and third down defense, okay? So that's how great their defense is. The Eagles are averaging 227 yards rushing in the playoffs so far. Barkley's killing it, and nobody's averaged that much since the 1974 Steelers. So this is a historic thing that Barkley and that offensive line is doing right now. The Commanders are giving up 7.2 yards per play in the playoffs. It's the worst mark by any of the playoff teams. With all that being said, in my heart of hearts, I believe that the Eagles win this game straight up. I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan. I'm a homer. No, I believe they win this game. The roster is unbelievable, and it just outweighs the Commanders team. Okay, but on this channel, we pick against the spread, and now it's at 6 or 6.5, depending where you see it. I personally, when this opened up at 4.5, I took it so fast, like a bat out of hell. Okay, I took it at 4.5 so quick on Monday, but now it's at 6.5, and it's not so easy to just like, oh, I got it at 4.5. I'll definitely take it at 6 or 6.5. The Commanders have covered the spread in each of their last 4 games against teams that held a winning record. Okay, but the hell with that. I don't care. The Eagles have a better roster from every position except maybe the quarterback, okay? The Commanders needed so many dominoes to fall in that second game to win in the season, to beat the Eagles, okay? Jalen Hurts got out with the first quarter. Our starting safety got kicked out in the beginning of the third quarter. Our starting defensive end got hurt and he had to leave in the middle of the second quarter, okay? And Devontae Smith dropped a ball that would have iced the game, would have ended the game, an easy catch, and he dropped it, okay? All those dominoes fell for the Commanders so they could win that second game in the season. And rookie quarterbacks are 0-4 or 0-5 in conference championship games. So I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I think it's going to be 27-20 or 28-21 kind of game. I think they pull it through. I think the storybook ends on the Commanders. It's one hell of a ride, but I think they're still a year to 2 years away. And this is the time for the Eagles to win and get to the Super Bowl. So give me the Eagles to cover the 6 points. I like Barkley to rush over 127 yards. And I also like Dallas Goedert to go over 39.5 yards. Keep in mind, though, that he did not practice here on Thursday. So if he doesn't play, don't play that. It's probably don't play no tight ends. He's probably not going to play. If he doesn't play, just don't take that bet, okay? Also, keep in mind, I forgot to mention this, the Eagles center, he also didn't practice on Thursday as well, okay? But with all that being said, give me the Eagles to cover the 6 points, Barkley to go over 127 yards, and the Eagles to win and get to the Super Bowl where they belong. Now our AFC matchup, we got the Bills versus the Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 1.5 and the over-under being 47.5. The Bills are coming off a close win against the Ravens. And to be honest, when I rewatched that game, the Ravens just kind of shot themselves in the foot. I'm sorry. I know the Broncos caused 3 turnovers, but the Ravens still had a chance to come and tie the game up with 3 turnovers. So, Mark Andrews decided to have the worst game of his whole career that game with the fumble, the drop 2-point conversion. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So it seems like the Ravens shot themselves in the foot that game. Like I said, Mark Andrews had his worst game of the season. He fumbled the ball when they were going down into the Bills' territory. But it was still a full team effort win by the Bills. Nobody really stand down that game. Allen did have no passing touchdowns, but he did rush for 2 touchdowns. Cook had no touchdowns, so it was a real good team effort by the Buffalo Bills. But if you look at the stats of that game, you would think the Ravens won. The Ravens had way more total yards and they had more first downs. So you would think the Ravens could win the game. So keep an eye on that. That's a little scary if you think the Bills are just going to, this is their time to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They were outgained by the Ravens. Like I said, the Bills had the most important thing. They won the turnover battle. And every playoff team so far, every team in the playoffs so far, the team that won the turnover battle, they have won and they've advanced to the next round. But keep that in mind. The Bills, they definitely need to have their offense play better. They can't just have their defense, think they're gonna, cause 3 turnovers, because Mahomes hasn't had an interception in a long time. Okay, so I don't think if anybody's going to bet that they're going to cause 3 turnovers on the Kansas City Chiefs, that's fool's gold. Don't bet on that, okay? Um, and like I said, one thing that I also think that to keep this in mind, the Bills, their offensive line is just great. It is just amazing. Allen, I mean, it's not as good as the Eagles, but the Bills, they keep Allen clean and safe. The guy is the least sack quarterback in the NFL, and plus he's just hard to take down. He's a big guy. So, but their offensive line is doing a great job this season and keeping him clean. Cook, the running back, he has 18, 19 rushing touchdowns. So really, he's having a great season. And, Allen, he just likes to spread the ball around. There's no going to be one dominant player in this. There hasn't been really one dominant player this whole season for the Bills. He has 2 good tight ends in Knox and Kincaid. Good wide receivers in Coleman, Cooper, and I think Shazier or Kaiser, the other guy. So, and he has Cook, and he has Davis, the other running back. So there's weapons around, and he likes to spread around, and he likes to play Superman himself and rush the ball in for multiple touchdowns. So, this offense is really great. It's way better when they even had Diggs and Gabe Davis. This offense looks way better and more functional. It's just not surrounded by one weapon. Let's talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are coming off a close fought win against the Texans. The Texans, they had more total yards and more time of possession. So you would think another team, just like the Ravens, who had more total yards, the Chiefs come, like they've done all season, they just find a way to win. And they did with the Texans. Will Anderson had 2 sacks on Mahomes. Mahomes playing, they pushed me out of bounds, blah, blah. I'm not getting into all the ref stuff. I think the refs with the Kansas City Chiefs is a little overblown, but it's not a good look when your quarterback fakes and he does a flop, and that's embarrassing. He flopped like a little girl, and I'm like, give me a break. Come on, Mahomes. Besides that, like I said, the Chiefs find a way to win. They're out gaining yards by the Texans, and the Texans had, I think, 7 or 8 minutes more time of possession they did as well. So for them to come and win this, it's a very impressive, the Chiefs. The Chiefs have one of the best historic quarterbacks of all time in Patrick Mahomes. He's even better in the playoffs statistically and QB rating wise. He has decent weapons too. I'll go over them briefly. Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Kelsey, Gary, the other tight end, Worthy, the other wide receiver, Juju. Even though Juju doesn't really play that much, but there's weapons there. Some of the weapons are slow. Hollywood Brown and Worthy are okay, not too bad. And they got Pachenko and Hunt at running back, a nice little running back duo. So with their defense though, their bread and butter is their rush defense. Their rush defense is ranked 8th, and Chris Jones is the heart and soul of that defense. The guys like Jalen Carter, he just does everything. The guy's just everywhere, and it's hard to block him one-on-one. So I'm pretty sure he's going to get double teamed in this game. And they have good linebacker play, the Chiefs defense, with Bull in there leading the way. So they gained some good playing time from those guys. Their passing defense leads them to desire. It's ranked 18th. But Watson is back for them, their other starting corner. He was hurt in week 7 in the NFL during the season since week 7. He came back last week on a snap count, but having him next to McDuffie, because they're having like two corners, they're trying to find a corner to replace him, and they really couldn't. So having Watson, who probably got his legs on him, his legs underneath him a little bit more for this game, it's just really good for the passing defense. You got the McDuffie and Watson. If Watson could play more snaps during this game, it's just going to be great for their passing defense. My main concern, though, for the Chiefs, is they move their left guard to left tackle. Now, that's going to protect Mahomes more and from him getting sacked, which I think is more important. But the inside power running game for the Chiefs is going to suffer. You don't have that push. It's just going to be some guy, I don't even know who the hell is playing left guard is for them, but you're losing him, the starting left guard, who's now playing left tackle, you're going to lose that inside push during the running game. So I think it's better that they moved him to left tackle to protect Mahomes' blind side, but they're going to lose a little bit in the running game, the power running game. So keep that in mind, okay? So with all that, this, like I said, a hard game to predict. But I come back, the Bills almost lost the game, or they almost got the game. They had the game tied against them by the Ravens, and they were +3 in turnovers, meaning they caused 3 turnovers and they didn't give no turnovers. So they had +3 in turnovers, and they almost let the Ravens come back and tie the game. That doesn't spark confidence in me. Even though their defense caused 3 turnovers, how do you let them almost tie the game? Also, the Buffalo's defense has been one of the worst defenses in the second half. They are 22nd in opponent success rate and 24th in opponent drop back EPA. So, it doesn't. I just don't think their defense can do what they did and cause 3 turnovers against the Kansas City Chiefs. I truly don't. The Chiefs have covered the spread 6 of their last 7 postseason games, and the Chiefs have won each of their 11 games at Arrowhead Stadium, and this game is basically a pick-em because the number is almost 1.5. So with all that, I think the Bills have to score and score and score to keep up the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs are going to be able to score on this average to below average defense that it is the Bills, okay? So I think the best play is over 47.5. I truly do, okay? And I like the Kansas City to cover the 1 or 1.5 point wherever you can get it. But I think the best play is over 47.5, and a sneaky play. You want to throw like $5 on it, $10, $20, whatever, is for this game to go over in overtime. I can see this game going overtime, like 24-24 kind of game. But best play, I believe, is the over 47.5. I think this is going to be a bit of a shootout. So give me the over 47.5 and the Kansas City to cover the 1 point. Well, guys, those are my predictions for the conference championship. It's going to be awesome. And you know what? If my prediction doesn't come in for the Eagles game, but the Eagles still win, I'm happy with that. I just want my Eagles to make the Super Bowl once again. So with that, let's get into my best bets. I like my best bets. We have some player props here, so it's just not going to be picking the winners and losers over the under, all right? So let's get at it. My best bets for the conference championship games. All right. And my first best bet, I like the over 47.5 in the Kansas City and Buffalo Bills game. Like I said previously, the Bills defense is not so great. It's one of the worst defenses in the second half in the NFL. I also want to believe in the Chiefs defense that as well. Their passing defense is not so great. They did get Watson back, their other starting corner, but he's on a snap count, so he might be on a snap count again in this game. And I think when Jared Allen, just like Patrick Mahomes, both these quarterbacks, they're going to be running the ball. They're going to play Superman. So I think they're just going to be points scored in this game. I think it's going to be a 30-27 kind of game or 30-32 kind of game. But I think they go over this number easily. So give me the over 47.5 in the Bills Kansas City game. And my second best bet, I like Barkley to go over 127 rushing yards. Look it. He went over the number in the Packers game. I believe it was 110 or 112. He went over that. I played it then. He got it. I played it in the Rams game because he killed him earlier in the season. He went over that number again. And the 2 games they played the Commanders in the regular season, he killed it during those games. So the Eagles are going to rush it. They have the best offensive line of all of football. So I think they're going to run the ball. I think he's getting 25 to 30 carries in this game. I think he's going to get this number. Even if it looks like it doesn't look too good in the third to fourth quarters, believe me, Barkley will break one off, 30, 60 yards, whatever, and he'll get over that number for us. So give me the over 127 yards for my second best bet. And for my third and final best bet in these conference games, I like Travis Kelce to go over 70 yards receiving. Travis Kelce has done this in the last Chiefs 14 postseason games, and you can get this at minus 115. So still at a really good number. Okay. Like I said, I think the Kansas City and Bills game is going to be a shootout. I believe they're going to go over the 47.5. And you know damn well Mahomes' safe blanket is the Kansas City Chiefs. And hey, if you're a Bills bettor and the Bills are up and Kansas City Chiefs have the ball, there's a good chance that Kelsey gets garbage receiving yards and he gets that number for us. So I really like Travis Kelsey to go over the 70 yards because I really do believe the Chiefs and Bills game is going to be a shootout and it's going to go over the number. So give me Travis Kelsey to go over 70 receiving yards. Well, there it is, guys. There it is. My predictions and my best bets for the conference championship games. Like I said, Super Bowl is around the corner. Unbelievable. If, like I said, I thought it was beginning the season last week. That's how much time flies by. But it's been awesome. It's great. I love doing this, guys. Like and subscribe. Like I said, costs you nothing and it helps this little channel with everything, okay? And as we get towards the end of the end of the NFL season, I'm going to be jumping in more to the NBA predictions. And also, I'm going to break down each baseball team. I love the MLB, each MLB team, and go through each team and predictions on their over/under on their win totals and loss totals and their acquisitions and all that jazz. Okay, guys, so we're gonna be doing a lot of baseball, including basketball, coming up here in the future. But right now we got the conference championship games. I love my bets. Hopefully they all come through for us. Hopefully we all win money this weekend, because if I win money, you guys win money, it's great. We're reading the books. Okay, so with that, guys, like and subscribe, and as always, the Super Bowl is around the corner, and I will see you then.